The warning flickered across Commander Vex's visor in pulsing crimson letters. Earthborn detected. Threat level, extreme. Recommended action, immediate withdrawal. He laughed. Actually laughed. The sound echoing through his helmet like broken glass scraping metal. 4 cycles he had hunted across 17 star systems. And now, finally, the scanner had found one. Just one single human, alone in a derelict station orbiting a dead moon. The irony tasted sweeter than Cavalian wine. "Scan again," Vex ordered, his mandibles clicking with anticipation. "Confirmed, Commander," his tactical officer Rin replied, her voice thin with worry. One biological signature. Human female. No visible weapons, no armor. The station appears abandoned except for her. Vex felt his blood surge hot. No weapons? Even better. The stories, the legends, the whispered terrors that had spread through the galactic community like a plague. They all centered on humans with their primitive firearms, their crude explosives, their ridiculous attachment to outdated combat doctrine. But this one, unarmed? Perfect. She is probably a scavenger, Vex mused, studying the scanner readout. Lost. Desperate. The universe has delivered me a gift. Sir, Rin ventured carefully, the protocol is clear. Earthborn encounters require fleet-level response. We should call for backup and establish a perimeter until what? Vex snapped, rounding on her with eyes that burned like twin suns. Until she escapes? Until some other hunter claims my prize? Do you know what the Syndicate pays for a confirmed human kill? Do you have any concept of the glory? Rin's shoulders sagged. She knew, everyone knew. Since the humans had emerged from their little blue planet and proceeded to dismantle 3 supposedly invincible empires in less than a standard year, the bounty on their heads had skyrocketed. Dead or alive, though dead was strongly preferred. Alive meant questions. Alive meant risk. Alive meant the possibility that they might escape and add your name to their revenge list. And human revenge. Well, that was another legend entirely. "Prepare my combat suit," Vex commanded. "I go in alone. Commander, please, alone." The word hung in the recycled air like a death sentence. 20 minutes later, Vex stood at the airlock of the derelict station, his combat suit humming with enough firepower to level a small city. Plasma cannons on both arms, micro-missile pods across his shoulders, kinetic shield generator purring at 70% capacity, enough protection to walk through a supernova and laugh about it afterward. The airlock groaned open, protesting with the voice of ancient metal and older neglect. Beyond it stretched a corridor illuminated by failing emergency lights that painted everything in shades of amber and shadow. The air tasted stale, metallic, wrong. Vex stepped inside. His scanner pinged immediately, highlighting a heat signature 3 decks below, moving slowly, casually, as if completely unaware that death itself had just boarded her temporary home. "Foolish creature," Vex whispered, advancing through the corridor with measured steps. "You should have stayed on your pathetic little world. Should have remained in your corner of nowhere, playing with your primitive toys. But you ventured out. You dared to walk among your betters. And now, you will pay the price for that arrogance." The station groaned around him, settling into its orbit with the resigned sigh of something long past caring whether it lived or died. Vex passed empty rooms, shattered viewports, the scattered debris of whoever had called this place home before abandoning it to the void. His imagination painted scenarios. Perhaps she had been part of a crew. Perhaps they had left her behind. Perhaps she was the last survivor of some catastrophe, clinging to life in this metal coffin while waiting for rescue that would never arrive. It did not matter. Her story would end today, and his would transform into legend. He descended through access shafts, his combat suit's servos barely whispering as they compensated for the station's minimal gravity. Down, down, following the scanner's insistent chirping, following the heat signature that moved and breathed, and had no idea that its final moments were being measured in heartbeats. Then he saw her. She stood in what had once been a cargo bay, surrounded by scattered containers and the skeletal remains of loading equipment. Her back was to him. She wore simple clothes, nothing fancy, nothing that suggested military training or combat experience. Dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, average height for a human, which meant tiny compared to his own impressive bulk. She was examining something on a small portable terminal, completely absorbed, completely vulnerable. Vex raised his right arm, the plasma cannon charging with a rising whine that should have alerted her, should have sent her diving for cover, should have triggered some survival instinct. She did not move. "Turn around." "Human!" Vex commanded, his voice amplified through his suit's external speakers. booming through the cargo bay like the voice of an angry god. She did turn slowly, and Vex felt his first flicker of uncertainty. She was smiling. Not a smile of fear or desperate bravado. Not the grimace of someone facing death and trying to pretend courage. This was genuine amusement, the kind of expression someone wore when the universe had just delivered an exceptionally funny punchline. "Well," she said, her voice carrying easily across the space between them. "That took longer than I expected. I have been waiting here for almost 3 hours. Started to think maybe you had gotten lost." Vex's mandibles clicked in confusion. "You knew I was coming?" "Of course I knew," she replied, setting down her terminal with exaggerated care. "Your ship has been broadcasting scanning pulses since you entered this sector. Very loud, very obvious, very, how should I put this? Amateur." Rage flooded through Vex's system like molten iron. This insignificant speck, this wingless, fangless, pathetic creature dared to mock him. "I am Commander Vex of the Talon Syndicate," he snarled. "I have killed warriors from 17 species. I have claimed bounties that would buy entire moons. And you are nothing but another entry in my log. Another number to add to my total. Another mistake," she interrupted, taking a step forward, just one step. But something about it made Vex's combat computer scream warnings that he immediately dismissed as glitches. She had no weapons. The scanner confirmed it. No plasma, no kinetics, no explosives, no toxins. Nothing but flesh and bone and that infuriating smile. "Last chance, human," Vex said, forcing confidence back into his voice. "Kneel. Beg. Perhaps I will make it quick." She laughed then, and the sound was worse than her smile. It echoed through the cargo bay, bouncing off metal walls, somehow managing to sound both genuinely delighted and absolutely terrifying. "You want me to beg?" she asked. "That is adorable, really. I have not heard anything that cute since my nephew asked if he could fight a thunderstorm. Tell me something, Commander Vex of the Talon Syndicate. Do you know why the scanner warned you not to engage?" "Propaganda," Vex spat. "Stories. Myths meant to frighten the weak-minded. I do not believe in ghost stories." "Ah," she nodded, still advancing with those slow, measured steps. "So you think the complete destruction of the Krell Armada was a myth? The dissolution of the Hashant Empire? The fact that the Vryn Collective literally voted to disband their entire military rather than face another human engagement? Tricks, technology, luck." "Sure," she agreed, her smile widening. "Luck. Is that what you are counting on today, Commander? Luck?" Vex fired. The plasma bolt screamed across the cargo bay at supersonic velocity, carrying enough energy to vaporize an armored vehicle. It should have erased her from existence, should have left nothing but a shadow on the wall and the smell of cooked meat. She moved, not dove, not dodged desperately, just moved, shifting her body with impossible precision, letting the plasma bolt pass close enough that it singed her sleeve but did not touch skin. Vex's combat computer stuttered, trying to calculate the reaction time required for such a movement. The numbers it returned were impossible, literally impossible. No organic being could process and react that quickly without neural augmentation, and his scanner swore she had no implants, no modifications, nothing but factory-standard human biology. He fired again, and again, and again. She danced. There was no other word for it. She flowed between the plasma bolts like water flowing around stones, her movements economical, almost lazy, as if avoiding lethal energy weapons was something she did every morning before breakfast just to stay limber. "Stop running," Vex roared, switching to his missile pods. "I am not running," she called back, still advancing. "I am walking. You are the one panicking." The missiles launched with a sound like tearing fabric. 6 of them, each capable of independent targeting, each carrying enough explosive to crack a bunker. They spiraled through the air. Crack a bunker. They spiraled through the air, their tiny machine brains calculating intercept courses, predicting movement, compensating for evasion. She caught one. Her hand, her bare hand, just reached out and grabbed the missile mid-flight, redirecting its momentum in a smooth arc that sent it smashing into its companions. The explosion lit up the cargo bay like a miniature sun, and Vex threw up his arm to protect his visor from the flash. When the light faded, she was closer, much closer, close enough that he could see her eyes, and they were wrong. Not glowing, not obviously cybernetic, but filled with something that made his combat computer scream fresh warnings. Intelligence, experience, the kind of cold calculation that came from seeing death so often that it had become boring. "Impossible," Vex breathed, activating his kinetic shield and drawing his plasma blade. "You are impossible." "No," she corrected, closing the final distance between them. "I am human. There is a difference." She reached for him, and Vex swung his blade in a horizontal arc that could have bisected a battle tank. She stepped inside his guard, so close that her breath fogged his visor, and her hand found his wrist with impossible precision. She squeezed. The combat suit's reinforced gauntlet crumpled like paper. Vex felt bones break, felt servos tear, felt his fingers go numb and useless. The plasma blade clattered to the deck, its glow fading to nothing. "You wanted a fight," she whispered, her voice suddenly devoid of all amusement. "So let us fight." What happened next would haunt Vex's final moments. She tore through his combat suit like it was made of wet cardboard. Her hands found weak points that should not have existed, exploited design flaws that his engineers had sworn were impossible. She did not punch or kick or employ any recognizable martial technique. She simply, efficiently, systematically dismantled him. The kinetic shield shattered under her assault. The plasma cannons bent and snapped. The armor plating peeled away like skin from overripe fruit. And through it all, she wore that same small smile, that same expression of casual amusement, as if this was merely an interesting way to pass the time. Vex tried to retreat, tried to call for help, tried to do anything except die. She did not let him. End of Part 1. Rin watched the life sign monitor with growing horror as her commander's vital readings spiked and plummeted in patterns that defied rational explanation. Heart rate through the ceiling, adrenaline levels indicating absolute panic, combat suit integrity dropping by percentages that should not have been possible unless he had flown into a star. "Commander?" She called over the communication channel. "Commander Vex, respond. Please respond." Only static answered, punctuated by sounds that might have been metal tearing or might have been screaming. Possibly both. "We need to go," her co-pilot Jax said, his 4 hands dancing across the controls. "We need to leave this sector right now." "We cannot abandon the commander," Rin protested, but her voice lacked conviction. She was thinking about the protocols, about the warnings, about the stories that every species in the galaxy told their children to keep them obedient. Be good or the humans will come. Behave or we will leave you on Earth. Study hard or you will end up fighting Earthborn. Stories, just stories. Except Commander Vex's biosigns had just flatlined. "He is gone," Jax whispered. "He is actually gone. That human killed him." Rin stared at the monitor, at the flat lines where a moment ago there had been life, and felt something cold settle into her chest. Commander Vex had been the best, the absolute best. He had hunted across the galaxy for cycles, had claimed bounties that other hunters would not even attempt, had survived encounters that should have killed him a dozen times over, and a single unarmed human had erased him in less than 4 minutes. "New contact," Jax announced, his voice climbing toward hysteria. "She is moving, coming toward the airlock, coming toward our ship." "Seal everything," Rin ordered, her training finally overriding her shock. "Maximum shields. Charge all weapons. Prepare for emergency jump the moment the calculation's complete." "Jump to where?" Jax demanded. "Anywhere. Everywhere. Just not here." They watched the airlock camera feed, watched as the human female appeared in the corridor, walking with that same casual pace, that same infuriating lack of urgency. She was not even breathing hard. Her clothes were barely disheveled except for that single singed sleeve. She looked like someone returning from a mildly interesting shopping trip, not someone who had just killed a warrior in full combat armor using nothing but her hands. She stopped directly in front of the camera and waved. Actually waved, a friendly little gesture that made Rin want to vomit. Then the human spoke, her voice coming through clear despite the sealed airlock, despite the vacuum of space, transmitted somehow directly into their communication system in a way that Rin's technical training insisted was completely impossible. "Hello up there," the human said cheerfully. "I assume you are Commander Vex's crew? His friends? His hired help?" Silence seemed like the best option. Rin cut the communication channel and doubled the shield strength. The human sighed, the sound somehow conveying both disappointment and amusement. "Right, playing dead. Classic move. I respect it. But here is the thing, and I want you to listen very carefully because I am only going to say this once. I'm going to give you exactly 1 chance to leave. Take your ship, jump to whatever hole you crawled out of, and forget you ever heard of this sector. Forget you ever knew Commander Vex. Forget you ever thought hunting humans was a profitable career choice." She paused, and her smile vanished. "Or stay, and find out why the scanner warned you not to engage." Rin hit the jump drive activation before the human finished speaking. The ship tore reality apart and fled into hyperspace, abandoning Commander Vex's body, abandoning their pride, abandoning everything except the desperate need to be somewhere, anywhere else. Behind them, alone on the derelict station, Kira Vance watched the ship disappear and shook her head. "They always run," she muttered, walking back toward the cargo bay. "Big talk, big weapons, big reputation. Then they meet an actual human, and suddenly they remember urgent appointments on the other side of the galaxy." She stopped beside Vex's crumpled combat suit, looking down at the thing that had once been a feared hunter and was now just debris. Part of her felt bad about it. Part of her remembered a time before the war, before first contact had gone so catastrophically wrong, when maybe things could have been different. That part was very small, and getting smaller every day. Kira activated her portable terminal, pulling up a star chart that showed the local sector in three-dimensional relief. Little red dots marked confirmed syndicate positions. Little blue dots marked human interests, and scattered between them, thousands of yellow dots marking independent stations, trading posts, colonies, all the little places where people tried to live their lives without getting caught in the crossfire. This station had been yellow once. Then the syndicate had raided it, killed everyone aboard, and left it to rot. Standard procedure, the kind of thing that happened 100 times a day across 100 systems. Because the syndicate and organizations like them viewed anything smaller than a fleet as acceptable prey. They had not counted on humanity taking it personally. Control. "This is Vance," Kira said, activating her long-range communicator. "Target eliminated. Crew fled the sector. Station is clear." The response came back immediately in a voice that sounded tired and young and absolutely done with everything. "Confirmed, Vance. That makes 17 this month. Command wants to know if you are planning to take any time off, or if we should just rename you the Grim Reaper and make it official." Kira smiled despite herself. "Tell Command I will take time off when the Syndicate stops hunting civilians. Until then, I have work to do." "They are calling you a monster, you know," the voice said quietly. "Across half the galaxy, the human who kills without weapons, the Earthborn devil. They have put a bounty on your head that could buy a solar system." "Good," Kira replied. "Let them come. Let them all come. Maybe eventually they will learn the lesson." "What lesson?" "That you do not hunt humans. You do not raid our stations. You do not touch our people. Because we do not need weapons to kill you. We do not need armor or shields or advanced technology. We just need hands and anger and a very, very long memory." She cut the connection and looked up through the shattered viewport at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, Vex's crew was spreading the word, adding another story to the growing collection. Another warning that nobody would believe until it was too late. The funny thing was, Kira had been a botanist before the war, had spent her days studying plant genetics, trying to solve food production problems for colony worlds, living a quiet life that involved exactly zero violence. Then the Syndicate had hit her research station, had killed her colleagues, had killed her friends, had made the mistake of leaving her alive. Turned out, humans were very good at adapting, very good at learning, very good at taking pain and anger and loss and transforming it into something sharp and focused and absolutely unstoppable. The galaxy had made a mistake. They had judged humanity by their technology, by their weapons, by their ships and their guns. They had not bothered to ask about the thing underneath all that hardware, had not bothered to wonder what kind of species could evolve on a death world where literally everything was trying to kill them at all times. Had not bothered to consider that, maybe, just maybe, humans had not built weapons because they were weak. They had built weapons because they were kind. And when kindness failed, when peace was rejected, when mercy was answered with murder, well, humans had other options. Kira picked up Vex's helmet, examining the sophisticated targeting systems, the advanced sensors, the expensive modifications that had turned this piece of equipment into a marvel of military engineering. All useless, all worthless against someone who had spent her entire evolutionary history learning to hunt and fight and survive without any tools except her own. Body and her own mind, she placed the helmet carefully on a cargo container, positioning it so it faced the airlock so anyone who entered would see it immediately. A warning, a message, a monument to the fundamental truth that the galaxy was still learning. Do not engage Earthborn. Not because they had better weapons, though they did. Not because they had superior technology, though they were working on it. Not because they were naturally aggressive, because individually they were some of the most peaceful, cooperative beings in known space. Do not engage Earthborn because when you hurt them, when you threaten their people, when you make them angry, they stop being scientists and botanists, and teachers and artists. They become what they had always been underneath the civilization and culture and carefully constructed morality Apex predators. Kira activated her beacon, broadcasting a simple message on all frequencies. Station Tango 7 clear. Available for salvage. Warning, Syndicate presence neutralized. Any further hostile activity will be similarly addressed. Then she settled in to wait. Because they would come. They always came. Another hunter, another bounty seeker. Another fool who believed the warnings were exaggerated. That the stories were propaganda. That one human could not possibly be that dangerous, and she would be here. Patient. Ready. Doing the job that nobody had asked her to do, but that needed doing anyway. Protecting the yellow dots. Guarding the helpless. Showing the predators of the galaxy what it felt like to be prey. Her portable terminal beeped, displaying an incoming message from command. New intelligence. 3 Syndicate ships spotted heading toward the outer rim, toward a mining colony that had petitioned for human protection, but had not yet received fleet support. Kira read the details, calculated travel times, and began gathering her equipment. The colony had maybe 6 hours before the Syndicate arrived. She could make it in 4 if she pushed her small courier ship to maximum burn. She took one last look at Vex's helmet, at the symbol of everything the galaxy thought made them strong, and smiled her small smile. See you soon, she promised the raiders, who did not yet know they were already dead. And maybe this time one of you will be smart enough to read the scanner warning and actually listen. She doubted it. But hope, like revenge, was a very human trait, and Kira Vance had plenty of both.